Jai Hind. On 23rd January 2026, we celebrate the 129th birth anniversary of the national hero and freedom fighter Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Netaji lived and fought in exile for many years of his life, and his mortal remains have continued to be exiled from his motherland, and that even 70 years after India became a free country. I feel very grateful to the many people of India who remember my father Netaji. They remember him not only with respect, but also with affection. And now, more than 80 years after his death, many even celebrate his birth anniversary each and every year. My father dedicated his life in quest of India's freedom from the British rule, and he refused to accept a commission in the respected and coveted Indian civil service, despite his passing his exams with flying colors. He spent 20 years in the Congress movement for India's independence, rising to be twice elected the Congress president. When he had to conclude that staying on in India meant staying on in prison and being unable to continue his struggle for India's independence, when he decided that, he managed to an adventurous and a difficult escape to Germany and Italy. When the fortunes of war changed in Europe, he was transferred to the Far East on another dangerous journey by German and Japanese submarines. After reaching Singapore, he took command of the Indian National Army, and from Singapore he proclaimed a provisional government of Free India. That happened in October 1943. In August 1945, we saw the end of World War II. The attack by the United States of America on Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear bombs was the ultimate cause for Japan's surrender. For India, this meant the end of Japan's support to Netaji and to the Indian National Army's struggle for independence. After Emperor Hirohito of Japan announced his country's surrender in a nationwide radio broadcast, the first broadcast made to his subjects on the 15th of August 1945, Netaji set out from Singapore on the 16th August to fly to Tokyo. After a stopover in Taipei on the 18th of August 1945, his plane lost an engine immediately after takeoff and crashed. He was one of the passengers who survived with severe burns, but he died of his injuries that very same day. Netaji was cremated in Taipei and his remains were then taken to Tokyo. The head priest of Renkochi Temple acceded to the request of the Indian community in Tokyo to take custody and keep safe the mortal remains of Netaji. And that was meant to be done for a few months. More than 80 years have passed since yet, and the remains still remain at the Renkochi Temple. I'm indeed indebted to Japan and specifically to 3 generations of head priests of Renkochi Temple who have taken care to preserve and to honor Netaji's remains. Once asked what he feared and abhorred the most, Netaji is reported to have answered, to be in exile. And indeed, in the 1930s, he had returned to India from exile in Europe, even though he had been given the clear warning that he would not be allowed to remain in freedom. And he was imprisoned upon arrival in India. And he only fled from India in 1941 to avoid a renewed imprisonment there, because he would not have been able to continue his struggle. And he was sadly never to return to his beloved motherland. As Netaji's daughter, I invite the Indians of today, who still revere him, respect him, and love him, to support his posthumous return from exile, to support the transfer of his mortal remains to India for a final and fitting disposal.